The free agency period in the NFL only just begun, but there have been so many big signings already that it is time for a recap. Chris Lovitt and I look at the deals in the AFC. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more NFL videos.
So yeah, when we look at the AFC side, especially in the AFC East, like the Patriots clearly didn't like losing last season. Bill Belichick clearly came out with a plan, and the way they went at it and how many deals they basically got done on day one, that was just crazy. I mean, I think they've done a lot of good work. I mean, clearly with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, they've got the two like best tight ends available, and they're both great. Like they can both like get you those touchdowns and those receiving yards. But I guess they means just they're gonna play two tight ends at every snap, I guess. And also, but I think the negative thing about the Patriots is that they might, I think in my opinion, they overpaid for Nelson Agholor and for Kendrick Bourne because they're both maybe at best third wide receiver on a depth chart, but they're not like true number one receivers.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It seems like Bill's really trying to recreate what the Patriots had when they had Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, where they were almost unstoppable. And I think Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry do have definitely some of the qualities. I'm obviously not saying they're as good as those players, but yeah, there's definitely some potential there. But I do also agree that I think they way overpaid for Nelson Agholor. When you compare Nelson Agholor's 2-year, $26 million deal to what, say, for example, the deal that Marvin Jones signed, which was 2 years, $14 million, Marvin Jones is obviously better than Nelson Agholor, I would say. So, yeah, I definitely agree they've overpaid there. But I think some of maybe the Patriots' better moves came at slightly lower prices. Like I think getting Trent Brown back was big for them. Obviously, after they've lost Joe Thuney as well, a nice upgrade on the offensive line there. And of course, the big signing of Matt Judon. I think the Patriots definitely needed to get better on defense. They should get Dante Hightower back this year. But yeah, this has been like really un-Patriot-like. Like Belichick's really gone for it, and it's not something that we've really seen from him before, spending so much money this early in free agency.
Yeah, I really think they're gonna try to attack the Bills again and regain that AFC East crown because I think, yeah, I mean the Bills have been fairly quiet so far. Like, yeah, they signed Mitchell Trubisky to 1 year deal, but obviously it's gonna be the backup, which is it's a solid backup to Josh Allen, and then they signed Emmanuel Sanders to a 1 year deal. I guess it's a nice addition to the receiving corps, but he's getting older and he wasn't as effective last year in New Orleans. So I think they might have to get some more work done there. They kept the good thing is they kept kind of their offensive line together more or less with signing John Feliciano and Darrell Williams to like getting those two guys back. But other than that, I think the Patriots are in a great position going forward because also like the Dolphins and the Jets both haven't made that many like huge signings. I mean the Jets, yeah, I like that they signed Corey Davis and Carl Lawson, but other than that, they have been fairly quiet.
Yeah, I like the Corey Davis signing as well. I think that the Jets are committed, whether it's going to be Sam Darnold or a rookie quarterback there. They seem committed to getting some weapons, and there's still some really good free agents out there. There's still Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster. I know the Jets have had interest in both of those. So, I think this could be a division where we see all four teams get better. But yeah, Pages have definitely been the most active. And yeah, they've definitely made their roster improve by the most of the other teams in the AFC East.
And in the AFC North, I'm very like surprised and disappointed in the Baltimore Ravens. Like you would have thought that they would be very aggressive in getting like Lamar Jackson some more weapons, or at least sign one of the wide receivers. Like I hope for Lamar's sake that they're heavily in on the remaining top free agent guys at receiver because he just needs some help there because Ravens have basically no one there except Hollywood Brown, but he's not a true number one receiver. And also they just, I think they haven't really done enough to, yes, I mean, they can compete in the AFC North, but like to compete in the AFC as a whole, don't think the Ravens have done enough.
Yeah, I totally agree as well. They've made some decent moves, I think. Like I like them signing Kevin Zeitler. Their O-line did look a bit shaky last year, and obviously they should be getting Ronnie Stanley back from injury. They re-signed some important defensive guys, but this AFC North is a division that's so close. Easily the Steelers, Ravens, or Browns could win this division next year, and for a team like the Ravens, who obviously didn't win the division last year, and there's such glaring needs, you probably would have expected more, more activity from them. Maybe they're just committed to addressing it in the draft, but I think it's almost been a theme across the division really, because Pittsburgh haven't really done anything either. They're obviously a bit, handicapped by their cap situation. I know they did restructure Ben's deal to maybe give them a bit more room there. But this looked like a prime opportunity where, someone like a Ravens could have, pushed all of their chips in before they give Lamar Jackson this huge contract next year, maybe sign some, quality veteran guys on 1-2 year deals, and maybe try and win the division this year that way.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the entire AFC North, all of them have not really done much. Also, the Bengals, they haven't addressed their glaring needs on the offensive line at all. I thought they would have been in at least on one of the top offensive line guys in this year's free agency class, but they didn't sign a single one. So their offensive line is still kind of a mess, and you need to get better there to protect Burrow going forward. But yeah, and obviously the Steelers, they just have almost no cap to really sign anyone. And the only thing the Browns really did is sign John Johnson to a 3-year deal. And yeah, I mean, he's a solid safety, but yeah, that's not gonna, I think, just push them over the edge to compete that much more.
Yeah, I would agree there as well. I do like John Johnson. I think he's a great safety, really nice playmaker. And I think the price on that deal was quite good as well. But yeah, I mean, safety doesn't have as much importance in a division like the AFC North as it would do in, say, the AFC West, for example.
Yeah, and if you look at the AFC South, there, I mean, your Colts have been fairly patient and have fairly done almost nothing except re-signing Marlon Mack. But I don't think you really need all that much because you have such a young team, and you might be better off saving that cap for some good extensions from some of your young players coming up. But otherwise, the Texans, they've been all over the place, signing guys left and right to short-term deals or very cheap deals because they just don't have the cap space either, and it's just a weird situation. They've signed Tyrod Taylor to a 1-year deal. Obviously, I don't know if that means they're gonna trade Watson or if that would just then be an emergency situation. But yeah, and also the Jags, who have so much cap, they kind of missed out on most top free agents, and yet the only one they signed really was Shaquille Griffin to a 3-year deal, and they're kind of a bit overpaid for him. I think he was a decent corner, but he wasn't worth $44.5 million over 3 years.
There's quite a lot to unpack with the AFC South, I think, and yeah, you're totally right. The Colts are going to have Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, and Braden Smith are all going to get big extensions either this off season or next off season. So quite a lot of the cap space is spoken for already. But there's when you see guys like Hassan Reddick signing a one year $6 million deal, that's a player who would have been tailor made for the Colts. Get some pass rush. We lost Danico Autry as well, so there is definite holes on this roster. Hopefully they'll be filled through the draft, but Ballard is kind of notorious for doing deals in the kind of second and third waves of free agency. And then when you touched on the Texans as well, I mean, I really don't know what the Texans are doing. Really, they seem to just be trying to grab any free agent as possible. Maybe this is kind of a last-ditch ploy to try and get Deshaun Watson to stay, because I think every free agent they've signed has been a 1 or 2 year deal. Maybe no one just wants to go there. I mean, if you believe everything that's coming out. So I think the Texans are an absolute mess. And I just want to speak on what I think could be the worst free agency signing of any signing so far, and that's Bud Dupree signing with the Titans for 5 years, $82 million deal. he's obviously coming off an ACL injury, and it's obviously possible that he could recover fully from that. But I think Bud Dupree's a guy, whilst his numbers do look fairly impressive, a lot of it is kind of like empty stats towards the end of games, like sacks in blowouts, and maybe being a product of the great players around him like Cam Hayward and JJ Watt. And when you look at that the Titans defense, there's really not much else there. So I think he's really going to struggle, and I think that's looking like one of the worst contracts for me so far.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. I mean, that was just. I mean, he got a 5-year contract worth up to like $85 million, and that's just way too much for him. And I agree with you there. Like most of his stats are also because of what TJ Watt was doing on the other side of the defensive line. So the offensive lines of the opponents were more towards like game planning against him, and then he mostly had like a one-on-one on the other side. And yeah, obviously coming off an ACL as well, you never know how good someone's going to recover. So that the Titans way overpaid for him there. I agree. And then like another head scratching move I thought was today when the Denver Broncos decided not to re-sign like Philip Lindsay, and I didn't understand that at all. Like he was he put up yards every season there, and he was like from an undrafted like free agent, he made it all the way to a Pro Bowl and everything. So I don't quite understand why they let him go. And yeah, that was kind of the head scratcher for me in the AFC West. And of course, the big news there was also that the Chiefs signed Joe Tooney. Of course, that was extremely massive for them to kind of shore up that offensive line after they let go of both of their starting tackles.
Yeah, the Chiefs signing Joe Thuney was massive. I know he's predominantly plays guard, but he's played tackle in New England as well, and he looked pretty good at right tackle. So while that's a huge contract for a guard, like 5 years, 80 million, they may even be planning to play him at right tackle, and they also signed Kyle Long as well, which I think is a great pickup. I don't think they've released the amount yet, but it is just a 1-year deal. Obviously he was retired last year, so this is a bit of a comeback for him. But even if Kyle Long can get to anywhere near where he was before he retired, obviously injuries allowing, then he was one of the best guards in the NFL. So I really like both of those pickups for the Chiefs on the offensive line, where they definitely needed help, as we saw in the Super Bowl. And just to touch on the Lindsay point, I think with the contract that Aaron Jones just got, I think, and if you compare Lindsay's and Jones's numbers, whilst Jones are slightly better, they are kind of in the same area. So what I imagine happened there was Lindsay's kind of, looking for Aaron Jones type money, which the Broncos obviously just aren't able to give at the moment. So I think he's going to test free agency that way.
Yeah, that might be true as well. Yeah, and then I mean the Raiders also kind of were in a weird situation similar to the Texans. They just grabbed loads of different free agents, and I didn't really see a plan there. Like for example, that they signed Kenyon Drake to a 2-year deal, and they also they have Josh Jacobs there, who they drafted in the first round. So that's kind of questionable why you would need another kind of running back that carries the load there. I mean, I guess it's good to have two kind of like almost first string running backs, but you could use that money to sign other players. And then they, for example, also picked up Solomon Thomas, who comes off an ACL, who was a major disappointment with the 49ers. But yeah, and I mean, the good signing they made, of course, was probably Yannick Ngakoue to a 2-year deal. But other than that, they haven't really improved that much. And same with the Chargers. Like I was surprised that they let Hunter Henry go. Obviously, their big signing was Corey Linsley to a massive contract.
Yeah, the Raiders one that really confused me was when they traded Rodney Hudson to Arizona. I mean, he was a great center up front for them. Yeah, really don't understand that move. It's almost like John Gruden's trying to get Derek Carr killed, trading away all of his offensive linemen. So yeah, that's a real head scratcher. And the one with Corey Linsley, it's obviously not a sexy pickup, getting yourself a new center, but someone like Corey Linsley, and you saw in Green Bay, the way he kind of commands that offensive line. It's very rare that you see free blitzers running at Aaron Rodgers, and he just strikes me as a guy who's so smart and so such a high football IQ that I think that's going to be massive for Justin Herbert. Having a guy like that in front of him, organizing his protection, I think that's a great pickup for the Chargers.